All right. So hey, morning. Hi. Yeah, lots of weirdness, lots of bullshit. Hence the painting of weird bullshit. It's just destroying the illustrative aspects of my being in lieu of a bulky painting. Yes, a bulky painting. So, just getting the coffee, getting the gun. Get some shit put together here. Maybe we should back that up because, whatever. All right. Okay, what's the point of this? Why does this guy got something going on? I don't know. Anyway, so this is my Realms piece. But I got to do most of it sitting down. Bad hip, bad feet, bad pain, bad times, good times stuff. Okay. Anyway, so what's the latest? Here's the latest. So I guess one of the latest things is one of my roommates decided to bail, to move out and stuff. So, but he left a lot of jars, which is really good. So I got to work on, what do you call it? Jars. Oh, yeah, shit. Now I got to figure out where I'm streaming. That's right. I'm probably somewhere on YouTube now. Get some shit on my channel going. I better check the comments. Anyway, so get a load of this, right? Like, Google Hangouts eludes me. Like before, I could swear that it was just, what do you call it? Like you'd start like a live stream, like a hangout, and you just drop the link, right? And then people would show up, and then when they showed up, they could just get in. And now, I don't know. I don't get Google Hangouts. I don't know what the fuck's happening with Google Hangouts. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, we have about 8 million people watching right now, so that's a really great thing. And okay, we'll begin the surgery, the vivisection, quite soon here. Oh God! Oh yeah, man, wild and weird. Oh yeah, look at that, the full water painting outside. Yeah, crazy, man. So I got in a car wreck, so my van's destroyed, and I only had liability, and so now I don't have a vehicle, and I got all of my art supplies out of it, and I put my paintings in storage, but I'm kind of screwed as far as selling in a park now, so I'm a little bit nervous about what's up. And driver's license division now wants to hammer me for getting in the wreck, and so I have an appointment here in about 5 hours or something like that to go and talk to you with the driver's license division. And I don't know what I'm saying on that. And then, and so then I had my roommate moved out, one of them, and then she's using this can as a palette. Show you guys the details, but hey, it ain't no biggie. And anyway, and so, like this so it's a little bit of a problem because since the roommate moved out and since I got in the wreck, then it's hard to make money, and I'm not out hustling my stuff, and so it's a little bit of a bummer. Besides, I'm now doing these semi-quirky pieces. But anyway, so anyway, yeah, it's But I also, I guess I don't get what's going on with Instagram. Like, I don't really know how that's how people do these. I guess they're maybe 10-minute videos. I don't know, people recording these god awful long ass videos of them, singing or drawing or doing all sorts of shit. And I don't know. I'm not up to date. Less than up to date. I'm not feeling too good about it. But so yeah, so there's all of that. And that has me bummed out. And then get a load of this, so Canada, of course, she fucking comes and leaves a shit stink of, angry emoji replies on Facebook account because why? Because I'm not, I don't know, doing what she wants. But I'm not giving her the attention, and then I get a big, fuck you from her. And then that was a couple weeks ago, so whatever, right? She's really volatile. And, I don't know, it's she's just on a whim, and this was the other thing, and I'm not trying to generalize women, but let me generalize women for a second. You seem so catty. You seem so reactive. You seem so goddamn, pithy and oscillating in your emotional set to the point, and I would have never, ever, ever considered generalizing women as hyper emotional or whatnot. And I'm not saying I'm not. I get emotional. Fuck, I was emotional the other day, big time. But I don't understand this ongoing power play that I got. I got it from Canada, and then I got it from my recent ex-girlfriend. Even last night I was going out with my second ex-girlfriend, from the present backwards in time, the second most recent girlfriend. We were hanging out, and then she makes some comment, her that's showing up, and not when we're, before her daughter shows up, man, if you can't control what you're saying and how you're acting, then you're just gonna have to get an Uber. And I'm like, well, just get a fucking Uber, right? I don't need this policing shit. And I don't know. That's the problem, right? It's this. There's this weird sense of control or behavior that just people are almost forced to oblige themselves that the queen bee isn't getting your fucking way. That's why I have a hard time, I guess, in relationships, is because, for example, okay, I know a guy, you guys know a guy, but I'm not going to mention his name, but either he got married or he didn't get married, but he had a kid, right? And then he's having marital problems, right? And his baby mama basically took his kid from him, and now it's going to start this whole custody upset thing. And I don't know, it's really discouraging, the power plays that people make between one another. I just don't know how to. I don't know how to. I don't know, and maybe I'm off the cuff, so I'm not a good specimen to talk to. I was just thinking, besides a couple of relationships in my life history that were going well, that I really pooch screwed, I have no idea why women oscillate in opinion on a fucking dime. At least the ones that I'm attracted to, right? And maybe that's the problem, is I keep going out with these wild and crazy and half batshit women. And so the most recent girl, so my second girlfriend, she said, well, why don't you go out with your recent girlfriend again? Like, you really liked her and she liked you. And I'm like, because she, and I was going to have her move in. She was going to give me her old car because she got a new car in exchange for like rent. And she's saying, well, look, just let her in, right? Like just let her move in for free. Don't charge her. What the hell are you thinking? And I'm like, well, the thing is she didn't, she said, oh, hey, I don't want to move in. She said, I want to move in. It would make things really stable. I'd have a place to stay. I trust you guys, get along with you guys. And then within 10 minutes, she's like, well, I don't really want to move in. Like, I really don't want to move in here. She's been staying in her car or whatever. And I'm kind of, even though I'm dirty and shabby, I keep the public places kind of clean. And anyway, so that's what's going on with that. And but I just don't know why within 10 minutes she wanted it and then didn't want it. And then I basically said, look, if you don't want to move in, then I'm not going to let you move in because you're already volatile enough and I don't need the extra grief or bullshit. Because I don't. And I don't know. I think I have enough on my plate already. So that's one thing that's been happening. And then, okay, so here's a totally different topic. I wanted to begin doing critical analysis videos of other videos, like I did on some of these. Like I'll do to some extent some analysis with QuickTime, even though I'm using this old beater laptop because I lost my newer one when I was in Ukraine, right? So anyway, moral, what the hell is the moral of the story? Moral of the story is this one doesn't have a tremendous amount of memory, I don't think. And I want to be able to, pull up screens and watch them. And apparently Google Hangouts is a little bit of a problem with that. And but the point was that I also wanted to do it with other people. I was going to do it with other people. And so, online in the video, not in person. So that's another development. That's why I got to figure out the Google Hangouts thing. What's up? What's up? Anyway, so shit. Everyone's got some problems. My folks are still alive. They're still together. My dad decided to go to a bowling league again because it's part of our genetic structure to be bowlers. And he takes a fall. He takes a dive on the lane because his thumb gets caught in the ball. Brand new bowling lane, brand new ball, I guess. But anyway, he took a dive and landed on his side. He's pretty frail, pretty old. Got this old friend that I've never met in person, even though I've been in his neighborhood. Dad lives in LA. It's Steve. He's his only relative was his mom, and he's older, much older. And his mom died. And now he's posting these kind of like, what's the point of living comments on Facebook. It's hard, man. I mean, a lot of people have it bad. There's a lot of bad shit people are working on all the time. And I gotta get more blues and whites out here. Anyway, make certain you give me a thumbs up for my nonsense. Make certain you subscribe because, hey. And so this, oh, yeah. Let's get stuff here. Oh, man, that's right. Yeah, and then, so, it was y equals mx plus b, I guess. Idea the, oh, there we go, there's rise over run, I guess, as far as how a chess piece actually moves. Right. Oh, here we go. And, I don't know. People move apart. I don't know. It's so cool that we have social media that connects people's lives together in some respect, and yet it just makes people neurotic as shit. And so people are en masse trying to deal with that. I think people in the U.S. obviously are dealing with social media different than in like Japan or Russia or European countries, but I don't know to what extent or how much. It's so cool that I can do this, even though you guys probably find it perhaps less than mega exciting. Although some of you think it's just absolutely fabulous. So then there's this dude that I know in California, this guy in his 20s who's, he's got his own issues, his anxieties and shit. And, he had a good job and then he quit because he's got anxiety. There's this woman in Seattle that's got these panic attacks also, just freaking the fuck out. Two entirely different and unrelated reasons. These guys are freaking out. And I don't know what to make of it, right? Meaning, it's not that I don't know what to make of it, and it's not even that I don't know how to maybe make recommendations about it to the person. It's that when the totality of their content, not the totality, but a large lion's share of their dialogue is about that, right? And it puts me necessarily in an empathetic category where I'm meant to listen and deal with their anxieties, which I'm not opposed to. I'm just opposed to it when it's, like non-stop. And so that was, I guess I haven't talked to the guy in 3 weeks, maybe a month. And, hoping he's doing okay. And, I don't know, besides that, I don't know what I'm going to tell the driver's license division. I don't know what questions they're going to ask. I don't know quite how to fare with everything. So I was on Instagram just to keep topic skipping, right? And I'm watching these videos, minute to 9 minute videos, and some of them are art pieces, and some of them are great, some of them are goofy, but some of them were they're illustrative, right? Very illustrative, very kind of realistic, cartoony stuff, and which it's after my own heart in a way, but it made me, you know, in landscape painting, kind of representationalism, and it just, you know, it dawned on me, like, God, how aren't people like blowing through the rules of their art, right? Like blowing beyond it. And I realized, you know, art is a meditation, and it's a stylistic, and it's a sentiment, and it's all sorts of amazing things. I mean, art is all those things, or it can be. And so I just don't know why things are, you know, I don't know. Maybe I have a taste for more abstract stuff, and I'm just not dipping into it lately. Only because I've been trying to really figure out, probably not just for my book on contradiction, but probably not because of that also. Look, I hope that the audio is working on this thing. Who knows, right? Maybe someone could throw me a bone and tell me they can hear me. I assume you can. Anyway, and yeah, it's just it's like trying to figure out what in like little spaces or little disconnected kind of non sequitur clumps that you're able to tie together and organize topics. That becomes an interest of mine. Wow, how are topics organized in a semi-fragmented way? You know, like how do people negotiate from one instance to the next, right? To stop their wallowing or their dogmatic adherence to whatever the moment is that's convicting them. I mean, if it's something they value, that's great. If it's something they don't value and they're still just like stuck in a rut, then, you know, it's a bummer, right? And then to think that way, I don't know. Like, I know all of this fragmentary thought and the idea of trying to speak on contradiction is important to me, but mostly it's important to me for the reasons of the supernatural. It's important because of the the unknown and the supposedly unknowable realm that some people get access to or tap into or find patterns from, and then the rational, grounded, metaphysical, naturalistic world, right? That's another thing altogether. But you know, I've said roughly the same shit for the many years. And then the other thing was I was noticing how, you know, I've made my whole channel essentially, not entirely, but a lot of it, to not be a talking head, to orient myself away from the camera, to not look like I'm some goddamn knockoff of a newscaster trying to tell people something and speak into the camera, and you know, like just the same old shit. I mean, how many people can sit and fucking stare at the camera, right? It's like, I mean, it's not that it doesn't, you know, there's something personalizing about it, obviously, but I don't. I think that'll go away the dodo bird as soon as we are so beyond like talking head news and just other graphic art forms that it's not gonna be around long, and then maybe there'll be some rehash of old videos like this one that goes on some long fucking diatribe, and yeah, so I don't know, like I may not have any value in the present, but in the future I may not also, right? It's just, I don't know, it makes me wonder. People are somewhat fucked up. things or something like that. And I don't know, I'm not the most honorable guy in the universe, obviously. But yeah, so I was, I have contention. There's not a speaker out there that I wholeheartedly agree with. I mean, well, I don't know. At times I do, but at other times there's always a difference. There's always something about an attitude or an intonation or a perspective. I don't agree with it, and it'd be fun to critique as to why it is I don't. But that's not what I mean, maybe everybody wants the world to agree with them, and it makes things better. I mean, obviously that's never really going to happen. I don't think worldwide agreement, but it is an interesting idea to try to garner sympathy. So then I went against Crowder, and against Peterson, some of the right wing commentators needed critique. What? Yeah. And yeah, so that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. One of my remaining roommates, he's in like Shakespeare, focusing on that, so it's kind of cool. His attentions are elsewhere, and then we have a non-filming, non-recording aspect of the contract. So I try to stay cool. All right, how's that look? Does it look any better? Does it look any coop malt bulb? I don't know. 27 minutes. You guys gonna dart in and listen to me ramble and paint the fucking chess knight move, knight to fucking rook to A2 chess piece. Fuck, that just reminded me, man. I'm gonna put that there. That's right. Because you're gonna get it. You gotta get it. You can get it. Watch. A2. Great. That'll get that Dukes. Man, I'm almost dipping my brush in my coffee. Anyway, and the other thing is that the whole fractured notion, pulling together non sequitur fractions, or bits and fragmented pieces of thoughts and paradigms and considerations, and trying to like pull it all together into one big glued together mosaic. I mean, I've spent years trying to get back my mind in another way while trying to like learn the lingo and the lexicon of the philosophical talking heads, and I think I can do pretty good. I fucking can hold my own on some shit. I know some concepts now, and some downtime, and that's all. That's all magic. Meanwhile, other people, their minds are still so strung out and strewed out. They're like trying to do something in their lives to make shit seem coherent. But I figured, what I was figuring was that the world is kind of going through this huge existential change. And I mean, there's plenty of happy people that are going with the flow and shit. And then there's other people that are just, they're fucking wrecks. Goddamn mental collapsing wrecks, man. And some people are like, and then here's the other thing, like an overabundance of creative nonsuch, right? I mean, get a load of this, just as an example, right? Like, okay, so Sam Harris, he's pretty big, right? He's a pretty big name dude. Something with Dawkins or, whatever. And then Joe Rogan comes on, right? And then Joe Rogan brings Elon Musk on. And I mean, it's not about talking about the whole weed thing, it's that he then treats Elon Musk like Elon Musk isn't just like Elon Musk is not an intellectual. He's a doer, man. He programmed, he got PayPal, he sold that to eBay, and boom, as soon as he got his millions from that little PayPal program, boom, he was off to the fucking races with Tesla, right? And then he does his digging thing, and he does his rocket thing, and he's doing all these things because he can. Even though he's like mega in debt, he's still like got the ball rolling. And the whole point is that like Rogan is trying to interview intellectuals, and so you get someone like Sam Harris. Sam Harris, fuck man, I mean this dude was a talking head with an opinion, and he speaks eloquently and all that shit. But I think he only went and got his PhD in neuroscience so he'd have academic credit. Right? The dude doesn't actually, I don't think he gives a fuck about the brain. I mean, I think he was just like, that was the closest thing to study to maintain his secular view of the world, right? But the point is that it was like, it's like a fucking token, right? Hey, it's a token for someone to get their PhD, right? And then I do kind of despise academics that get their PhD because there's so many professors that have a PhD that they're pretty much, they're kind of pure shit, right? And I don't mean to say that lightly. I think a lot of where their heads are is completely fucking batshit, and they're not well put together. And I think they're not very critical thinkers. And here they are, they've acquired their 3 digits at the end of their name, right? To talk this bullshit. And there's plenty of much smarter people, many more smarter people online that don't have a PhD than do have a PhD. But anyways, I was watching this argument between this PhD on maybe like biblical literature or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember honestly. But he was arguing for the, did Jesus really exist? And he's arguing against a guy that's kind of like, there's a phrase for like convicts that learn the law, but without passing the bar, right? But they learn the law really well. And so anyway, so he's arguing with this guy that has some really pretty good points. And I mean, maybe the guy speaks less than eloquently, right? But the thing is that the PhD guy basically said, well, hey, look, like no one's going to take you seriously until you get your PhD. Like he's telling this to his opponent who is probably in his late 60s, saying like, basically like, hey, you've made some good points, but no one's going to take you seriously unless you're cited at our universities, right? And I think what I love about the internet and knowledge and the idea of fake news, I'm not trying to slam against peer review. I think it's already got enough wiggle room, and it's already gone fucking haywire within academia. That plenty of people learn plenty of shit from plenty of people that don't have that shit. And so to have this clamp down on it, I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing to it. I'm just saying it's bloviated to insist that the content that comes out of someone that's achieved the paper pushing processes of, like in America, the professor friendship and whatever with whomever they're doing their, writing their thesis and their doctorate with, it's kind of asinine. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's intelligent people within the system and without of the system. But I remember like years ago, Professor Corey Anton, from wherever the fuck he is, somewhere in the Midwest, right, doing his communications thing. And I read his book, and I appreciate him, and even though I ragged on him and everything. But the thing is that he approached me with that same like fucking highbrow, you know, I've got my PhD, I'm obviously going to have more street cred, like I'm going to move more, do more than any of you guys, right? Like he kind of postured himself that way. It was fucking arrogant as shit. Because you guys know that, I mean, MIT doesn't compete with fucking PewDiePie, right? In terms of views, they're not touching them, right? And not that PewDiePie's got all that, but there's other forums out there, like let's say the Atheist Experience or this Non Sequitur show or some of these other group shows. They gain traction because they know how to appeal to the population. And in one way, when that was, you know, held against me, like, well, almost like you're not going to get traction, it made me think, oh yeah, I'm going to make worse videos and get better traction and more views than you. But what ended up happening is I made worse videos, like where I'm not orienting myself to the camera. Let's see if it shores up my shit. Ooh. Man, that's all I need. It's probably right. And so I guess you know I've been arguing for and against AI. I guess AI has plenty of critics. There are mathematicians that think that it's not it's nothing to be concerned about, and then you get someone like Elon Musk coming on and Sam Harris that, you know, they're really worried about the dangers of AI. And so I was trying to argue, or I was basically not trying to argue, I was just arguing that you know, because the mathematicians are saying, hey, look, these are all programs that are, you know what the program is. You change the program's code in order to get the result that you want. If it's not productive, it won't be a functional program. And humans are still in control of just this number push, right? And then so somebody had that same critique about, like, hey, there's nothing to fear about AI. AI is nothing. And then I thought, well, the multi-layered applications to take whole modules of applications and insert them into non-related topical problems, another genre of problem. Like, let's say the Uber app somehow solves something for fucking amputees, limb replacement, right? And then you have a computer that, kind of like in science, right? You see when they're trying to find out chemicals that work and what the responses are, they're just like lay out fuckloads of little test tubes inside of these huge swaths, and they just have these systems like move the test tubes by, and they're dipping or pulling ingredients in there to see what the reactions are of mass swaths of chemicals, right? So if you get a computer program that does essentially that with all these applications where they're applying apps to other genres problems, and it's able to do it so quickly, where if it found that one app solved some aspect of some other unrelated problem, that it could bridge a gap, and it could do this very, very quickly, and it could then utilize that to solve even other problems. And I mean, it's like the recent idea that, you know, even the best chess computers were just recently wiped out within a half hour of this new learning computer's ability to absorb the games. And I mean, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomena that I think is serious. So I'm going out with my double X girlfriend last night. We're hanging out. So I couldn't get out of the house. So I asked her to come get me. And I was going to say something somewhat related. And what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about Google God. Google's the god, right? Because I sense not only the computer, but little creaks and bugs and symbols and events and dust in the air and anything that my mind can apply meaning to. If my mind is in fact applying meaning to any event, and then that event is has a synchronicity with things on the computer, like most people assume, like, hey, if you search something on Google, then you go to Facebook, there's going to be something in your feed that shows it, or if you type something, immediately there'll be an advertisement. That is a quick kind of thing that can be attributed to Google, but when it starts, like in the Matrix, the third Matrix movie, reaching out into your real life, right? Then it's a whole different concern, right? And so I said, well, she's like, well, hey, the Google God is not to be mistaken for the real God, right? But she doesn't know what kind of God she's granting over to it. But it might as well, like, the beeps, that's an indicator, right? It might as well be a Judeo historic or not that kind of God, playing roles in the synchronicities between computers and one's real life, as if to place one as agent within Matrix, where the idea of playing your life like a video game is one, I think, very proper way to play it, and yet to assume that you're not in control of your destiny or anything, and then watch yourself go through cycles of anxiety and frustration as you try to reorient yourself, to what it is you're not doing appropriately in your life. You'll generate frustrations if you're not getting the results that your ego wants to see happen, right? And so you develop different frustrations. And the problem, though, is that is to allow the frustrations themselves to take a back seat to an idea that you're not actually controlling anything, that everything, even if you think you have motivation behind it, is more and less than that. And by more and less, I mean, like, your predetermined destiny, or your, as Sam Harris logically said, well, your telos could be pulling on you towards an end instead of, speaking of cause and effect, pushing you to your future. There could be this end point that's pulling you through time, so to speak. And so it's this idea of the outcome of the game is only known to the participants in terms of probability, but the destination is kind of already laid out. It's not a Bayesian probability process. Right? And anyway, but then to grant over the organism as having some actual, notion of free will is a whole different ballgame. To assume that everything that happens to the individual is meant to happen to the individual, where the individual then has to give themselves over to the universe in some pantheistic way, saying, well, God's greater than all that, and so he or it or whatever it is controlling it anyway, so there's really not any point in fretting or getting anxiety, but actually stop one from fretting and having anxiety. Oh, shit. That's why I brought that color out an hour ago. It's just I wanted to keep my line of thought while I was So to me, to hang out, right? To do not a hangout, but to do these live streams while I'm painting is like it in a way productive, but by talking to you guys while I'm painting, it removes a certain depth of focus from what I'm doing. It gets me out of my own way, so I can just, paint and not freak the fuck out as if I was in total